Ladies and gentlemen, he's the samurai of student ministry, the networking ninja, a Jedi master of church budgets, the beast from the southeast, the next-gen nerd himself, CJ!
What's up, my nerds? Welcome to the Next Gen Nerd Podcast. Glad to have you with us today. Our interview today is with Hector Mire, and he's from Faith and Fandom. He's written several books taking nerd culture like we talk about on our episodes and having a devotion that goes with those. I've enjoyed those. He talks about how you can read all of those for free, or if you want to support him, how you can do that on the episode. So if you're looking for a good devotion to read, check it out. It would be worth your time, definitely. But today we're going to be talking about the animated series Primal by Genndy Tartakovsky. He did Powerpuff Girls, Dexter's Laboratory, Samurai Jack, Unicorn Warriors Eternal, and this show, Primal. And if you've never heard of it, it is one that I don't remember how it came across my screen, but it is kind of crazy, the celebrities that have said this is a great show, you got to check it out. So you may want to listen. Even if cartoons aren't your thing, this is not your little kid's cartoon. All right, it's not your classic cartoon. It is art. So so make sure you stay tuned for the interview. You'll enjoy it. A couple of recommendations. What have you been reading, listening to, whatever else has been getting a little long in the tooth. So I thought, you know what? I'll just highlight one or two things, and we'll talk about those. So I have two recommendations for you, two of them. The first is something for you to watch. If you're looking for a new series to check out, I encourage you to check out Station 11. It's on HBO Max. It's not a new series. It's been around for a while, and I've had several recommend, like, you've got to watch this, you got to check it out. And I haven't, really, for the lamest reason, that the cover art of it, I was like, that doesn't really draw me in. There's a female protagonist? No, thank you. So I did check it out, though, and I watched it in the course of a weekend, and it is excellent. It is really good. It's a sci-fi, post-apocalyptic series that's based on a flu pandemic. Now, that may throw some of you guys out and go, that's not my thing, and I get it. You know, it's not for everybody. But I would really check it out. If you're looking for something, give it a couple episodes and see if it draws you in. It's only 10 episodes. It's a single season. I don't think they're going back for more. And I highlight this show because very rarely have I been so pleased with a series arc, length, ending. It is a well-told story in a finite number of episodes, a bow on the end, and you go, this is a good story. This is a good story. So I would have you check it out. I don't want to give any spoilers. I really don't. Watch it. You will be wondering what's going on kind of all throughout. But if you stick with it to the end, I think you'll enjoy it. I think you'll really enjoy it. So that's on HBO Max, Station 11, 10 episodes. I watched it, like I said, in a weekend, and it was really good. Really good, so check that out. If you're looking for something to read, why not pick the book that we're going to be talking about for the Next Gen Nerd Book Club? We're going to be talking about that on August 5th, so you've got a few more weeks to finish the book. The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is the prequel to the Hunger Games trilogy, and while it's not as good as the Hunger Games trilogy, I'm enjoying it. I'm about 2/3 of the way through. It's well told. It's well told. It's a good story. Yeah, I'm really excited to see kind of where it goes to the end. So if you're looking for something to read, pick that up. You got a few more weeks to read it, and we're going to discuss it on Twitch. And if you want to discuss it, if you just want to kind of watch the discussion, maybe add a comment or two, Twitch is going to be a great way to do that because it's going to be set up that way, to be live, that you can put in your questions and we can talk about those things. But if you would like to discuss it with me, via video or even just audio chat, let me know so we can set that up so you can be part of the Twitch stream. But it's going to be on August 5th in the afternoon. It's a Saturday. We're going to talk about the book and what we liked about it, what we didn't, kind of how we do a lot of our episodes. And we'll take that and it'll be an episode on the podcast at a future time. But yeah, I think you would enjoy that as well. Again, August 5th on Twitch. We're talking about the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and check it out because it'll be good. What would you recommend for me? Leave a comment for us on our YouTube. Send me an email, nextgennerdpodcast@gmail.com. Let me know what you think I should check out because I'm always looking for trying something. So send that to me so I can check those things out. And I think that's it. So it's time to start the interview. Let's get nerdy. And I'm excited to have Hector Mire with us on the show. This is actually Hector and I's first face-to-face conversation. I first had an encounter with Hector on the online Love Thy Nerd Con, LTN Con, during the pandemic, and I was telling him that his presentation of what was it, 20 ways to show Jesus at a con, something like
Yeah.
that. Like that was one of I watched that. I went, these are my people. Like these are the ones that I really need to connect with. And I remember telling Bubba at one of the first, I think it was the first time I talked with him on Zoom, that was the same thing. And he's like, listen, Hector is the same. That is Hector. Like all the time. And I hear that about myself as well. When I preach, that is who I am. When I do, there is no multifaceted CJ. You get what you get. So Hector, man, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. As you can, if you're watching this on video, you can probably tell I'm a little moist. My house is without AC right now.
Still,
So
I saw that the other day. Dang, dude.
I'm like, it's 3 weeks to maybe a month. They're just waiting on parts, and it's a whole chaos. And
Man, dude, I'd be recording on my phone somewhere else. Like, I'm sorry, you're gonna have sorry audio quality because I am not sitting in this.
but I did a podcast yesterday with the guys at Rushmore
hmm
podcast,
hmm
and I took it to my church office and did it there. And I was like, the lighting's bad, it's boring in here, I'm just gonna do it in the house and sweat.
Well, at least you don't have to worry about the AC noise causing any kind of interference with your audio. There's no kicking on and giving any kind of static, so that's sweet. Well, Hector, a couple of questions I'd like to ask our guests up front. The first is, what's something exciting or life-giving going on in your life right now, just to get a little peek in who Hector is.
Well, summer for me is my busy season. Like June through August is like white knuckle ball, like just crazy the whole way. I
You can say balls
speak
to the wall. I'm okay with you
Okay.
saying that. Yeah.
I was about to say, I was like, hold on, let me put the brakes.
You're good, man.
Uh, um, but it is, and so I this week is the first week I'm at my house in 3 weeks.
Okay.
I had a big con in Charlotte, North Carolina. I spoke at a camp in Orlando, Florida. I spoke in a camp in Minton, Alabama. Uh, I'm leading music for a group, or for like a service team this week, and then Sunday I go speak at another camp, and then off and off, and then this Saturday I'm DJing a wedding. So it's just like July 1st was the only day between June and August I didn't have something scheduled.
Okay. All right. So
And
yeah,
so
busy
just
season. Busy
busy
season.
season, but it's good. Like I get to do like a geek church service at GalaxyCon coming up, and that's the biggest show I'll do the whole year, and that's been good.
Nice. Very nice. Very nice. So Orlando. So I'm based out of Florida as well. I'm
Okay.
about 2 hours north of Orlando. If you look at a map of Florida and you go, where's the furthest point from water? Like that's where I'm at. Like I'm right in the meat of the armpit, is what I tell people. Right in the meat of the armpit of Florida, is where I'm at. So I enjoy going to Orlando. Glad you had a good time in Orlando. So really enjoying the background. So if you're not watching on YouTube, you can go over at NextGen Nerd Podcast. Actually, just at NextGen_Nerd. And check out this background. I see the red hood hanging up there. Very sweet. Is that a what's the black and white mask? Is that the Mario
Shy Guy.
that nice, very nice.
And,
So
and the Red Hood mask is actually autographed by Curran Walters, the guy who played Red Hood in Titans.
nice, very
That's
nice. When I just finished that series as well, I don't know, Friday, Saturday, one of those days. What were your thoughts on season 4? Okay, so the face says it all. The face says it all. Okay, all right. I'm like,
well, Brother Blood would not have been in my top 20 life choices for like a whole season of show, let alone their final season. I understand they tried to wrap stuff up and tried to make it concise and everything, but it was I felt like there had to be points where these guys were making the show like, why are we doing this?
yeah, it was a rough fourth season, and two, splitting it in the middle. The second half felt like it could have been squished into one episode, and then us have an actual villain for the rest of the second half of season 4. But I don't know. That may be just me. I don't know. But it was not my favorite season. Not my favorite season.
No.
Yeah, I think they were trying to find their way there. They were trying to find their way. So besides Primal, which I'm about Primal, you're a big fan of Titans. I can see Gotham Knights posted there in the background. What are some other big nerdy interests you've got?
Well, Red Hood is probably one of my favorite things. I'm a big Doctor Who fan. I've got
Nice.
a kid named after a Doctor Who character.
Okay.
Um, uh, I'm a lot more into Star Wars now.
Okay.
I've always been a Star Wars person, but since the pandemic and since my kids have gotten older,
Mm.
we're like a lot more into it because we watched Clone Wars and everything during the pandemic and went through down that whole route. Like my youngest child was keeping us awake last night watching The Phantom Menace, and I'm like, I can't complain about any of this. Um, I'm also a big Nintendo person. I've spent a large amount of my not required adulting time the last 8 weeks playing Zelda, and
Okay.
so yeah, it's been good.
Nice. Very nice. A lot of crossover there. My biggest claim to nerd fame, Star Wars related. I was part of a 6,000 member post by post Star Wars role playing forum, and I was one of the admins on there. And so we would each have Star Wars characters, related characters, and we would write out these basically just writing fan fiction is what it was. And I always say that's the nerdiest thing I've ever done in my life was that. But it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun writing characters. Yeah, probably one of my favorite ones to write was if you were to mash up Han Solo and Deadpool. That's kind of what he became. Was this really smart alecky mercenary Han Solo character? It's a lot of fun, a lot of fun. But we are here to talk about Primal. For those that are uninitiated into what Primal is a cartoon by Gendy Tartovsky. I'm never going to get that one right. Set I'm not sure. We're going to talk about where we think it was set. I originally thought it was set in prehistoric times. It follows Spear, which is basically a caveman, and his best friend, Fang, which is a tiny Tyrannosaurus Rex, or maybe a normal-sized Tyrannosaurus Rex, and he's just a big dude. Not sure. But it follows their adventures as they try to survive in a very cruel world filled with giant alien or not alien monsters, but giant earthly monsters, like animalistic monsters. And then it gets a little different in season 2, and we'll get into that in a little while. But all these episodes are found on HBO Max, or Max, I guess, at this point, and they're about 30 minutes long. Actually, they're less than 30 minutes long. So if you just want something quick, check it out. But it is I thought a very beautifully done series. There's not a whole lot of dialogue. It's all show me, not tell me. And I thought it was really great. So Hector, what did you love about Primal, or why did that stick out to you when I mentioned these are some things I'd like to talk about, and you said Primal all day long?
Um, well, first off, the visual storytelling of it is pretty much unmatched for a lot of stuff in recent years to me. I'm a big fan of. I'm also going to butcher his name, Jindy Tartovsky. Like anything his name's on, I'm usually down for because he's like Powerpuff Girls. He's Samurai Jack. He's that stuff. So I'm like, and I feel like this is the more modern, not well, far from modern, but I feel like this is the more recent equivalent of Samurai Jack.
Mm,
And I feel because Samurai Jack wasn't a lot of dialogue, it was a lot of pensive looks and music and everything else. And I feel like this scratched my Samurai Jack itch. But honestly, just the fact you could tell a story that well with so little dialogue ever spoken,
yeah.
uh, that's just what got me. And I originally um picked up the show because at some point Chris Evans tweeted, I just watched all of season 1 of Primal on one day. I need more. And I was like, what is he talking about? And then I
Right.
looked it up and I was like, okay, cool. And kind of went down the same trail for me. But
Nice. Nice. So, funny enough, I did not. I never watched Samurai Jack. I grew up watching Dexter's Laboratory. I have watched those episodes so many times, so many times. And so when I saw that that was connected to him, I was like, oh, I've got to check this out. And then Unicorn Warriors Eternal, which I'm doing another episode in a little while on that one as well, is also same guy. And then I found a picture, and it was all of them and Samurai Jack, and I was like, oh. Samurai Jack was by him too. Add to list. Add to list. So I started to watch the first episode yesterday, and I was just exhausted. We were, anyways, 4th of July week, exhausted. Got
yeah,
10 minutes in, and I thought I'll watch this when I'm a little more awake. But no, I agree. In fact, the lack of dialogue I thought was extremely. I thought it was done well. It drew you in. The fact that I couldn't put it in the background while I was doing something else because there was no dialogue to listen to, like I had to actually focus on it, was a draw. And when they actually started using language, which for spoiler alert, season 2, I don't know what language they're speaking, but it was more of a distraction. I was like, don't. Why do they even talk? Like, I don't understand what they're saying, and it doesn't add anything to the story. In fact, the only word that I could ever say was actually uttered on the show was Mira, and that was that character's name. That was it. That's the only one.
That one episode that was like a future episode or whatever
Yes. Oh, that's
threw
true.
me
That was that one. Yes.
that
Yes, I
threw me
remember that
off
one now.
so bad because like I sat down on my couch and I like looked down for a second and I heard English and I'm like, the what?
So I forgot about that, and that's early on in season two. And so when you said you're in for a wild ride, and I got to that episode, and I was like, "Are we done?" Like, because it was like it wrapped up. It wrapped up Spear's story ish. Like it was there was a bow on it, and then there was this one. I'm going, is it just weird stuff from here on out? And it does go back and it follows Spear, and I thought that was an interesting, I guess, change of pace. But again, it was I don't know, and maybe that was the exposition dump we would typically get in chapter one that they just stuck in season two, chapter four, or whatever. Um, but no, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. So now, before we get into we kind of did the next question, which is how does it feel different from other cartoon series? But couple questions. Your thoughts on this? Most of it seemed somewhat naturalistic. There's giant bats, there's giant snakes, there's giant whatever. Like there's the thing. And then we got into a couple episodes where there was this weird magic, and I was like, where did this come from? This felt like a departure from it. So your thoughts on the weird magic episodes? Because there was the little druid people, shaman looking people. And then there was the weird Viking magic in season two. Your thoughts on the everything? I mean, because those felt out of place given everything else that was going on. To me, what were your thoughts on the inclusion of magic there?
Well, because of like one, yeah, I agree. It did feel like out of place, but I feel like one of the things that we see pretty heavily in season two is that they kept throwing things at us to take us out of our comfort zone with it. Because if you've watched season one, you're like, okay, spear and fang, spear and fang. This is what we do.
Right.
And then they'll throw in something like where you're just absolutely not expecting it, and you have to like hone a little bit more. I feel like for the druid and the Viking magic choice, I feel is the best choice they could have made with it. Just because those are the more primal, you know, aspect like magic forces that you see is like those are the more down to earth, ground and planetary things, magics. Still a weird choice. still not something I would have gone with. And it definitely threw me off, but like I really did think at that point in time they were just throwing stuff at us to like make us not just expect here's another dinosaur episode. Um,
I got you.
but I did think it was like odd, and it's like my 10-year-old or 9-year-old at that point had walked through the house. She's like, oh, this is creepy.
Listen, there was a stretch of like 2 weeks where every time my kids came in my room, I had to pause because I'd watched The Last of Us, I'd watched this, I was watching Titans. Like, oh, a little creepy, sorry, a little creepy. Season 4, Brother Blood. That's weird. So I'm there. I mentioned the time when we had Vikings with full on armor show up on ships. I was like, where did Spear come from? Like, is he some slow kid on an island off in the middle of nowhere? That was more jarring for me than even the magic. That shift in my perceived time of 100,000 years ago, and then as a Christian, young Earth creationist, of course, I go, okay, these would all be together. I get that, but from Tartovsky's storytelling, I was like, what time period are we in right now? I was having trouble with that one. Your thoughts on because we had seemingly ancient Egyptians, Mesopotamians, Vikings, cavemen, dinosaurs, all just chilling in the same melting pot.
Well, I think honestly it really boils down to like a continental aspect of like certain civilizations advanced faster than others.
Okay. Yeah.
And so all it took was like, a few technological advances or, invention here and there in one region for that to circulate. And those without that just stayed where they were. It's just like the same, like, I lived in I spent my first decade of adult life living in the woods at a summer camp, and like you couldn't get like phone signal or internet out in the woods, and it's like 2009, and I still can't get Wi-Fi. So like I looked like a caveman comparatively speaking.
True.
And
I got you.
I just think he lived in a region where it was still at its he lived in the deep south of Mesopotamia or whatever.
That's it. Madagascar. He was on Madagascar with the rest of the creatures. Yeah, or something. That was the one thing that I was going, okay. I'm trying to track. It was fun watching him pick up a forged sword, a forged blade, and go, this thing is much more effective than the spear that I've been using up until this point. That was a fun bit. So from a storytelling perspective, there were definitely some more emotional episodes here. I was talking to my wife. She watched, I think, 30 seconds of one episode and said, "This is not for me, not my thing." But there were. I'm a big fan of relationship-driven stories. Honestly, that's one of my reasons why I don't like the first Avengers movie, is because I don't feel like there's a whole lot of relationship-driven stuff. All the relationships took place in the other movies, and then we're just going to throw them together and have it be plot-driven, I guess. I really enjoyed the relationship-driven nature of the show between Spear and Fang. Starting off as enemies and becoming much more than that, and the addition of Mira and that relationship, and Fang having eggs and then children, and there was so much that was going on there, and then you almost forget about the trauma from the first episode where Spear loses his whole family, and he's dealing with that as he goes, and especially again, spoiler alert, watch the show if you haven't watched it yet, but those last couple episodes were so emotionally hard for me as a dad and as a husband, getting through with Spear feeling isolated, feeling like there's not really a place for him, that Fang has her family, Mira's back with her people, and he was kind of withdrawn. Those were very challenging for me to sit through, just because of the depth there. Or great storytelling. What were your thoughts as a dad watching this show, these things going on? It was hard for me. What about you?
I felt like this show in a lot of ways expressed things that dads, that husbands, that men in general feel, but don't verbalize, which is even more funny because the show expressed it without verbalizing it.
Which maybe that's how they were able to do it. Like, you can't talk your way out of it. You can't say, I'm tough, I'm good. Maybe that was it.
And I just thought that was kind of like a beautiful irony. There's like, they're literally expressing all the stuff we don't talk about without talking about it. But it was hard. I mean, there was like, from the gate, like the losses in the first episode, down to the isolation, to the when Spear was jealous over Fang's new like relationship, and like that jealousy and everything. It's like they went through the gamut together. And like I was like, I remember getting to the episode near the end where Spear was feeling isolated, and I was like, I don't need this for my emotional and mental health right now. It's like because I remember I'd preached a Sunday morning, and I'd come home and I was like trying to like squeeze an episode in before I took a nap, and I'm like, I can't do this.
Yeah, it was just there was a lot there. I think that they ended season 2 in just a really great place. They could not do a season 3 and be fine, but I would be interested to see kind of where they may take season 3 if they were to try to do that. I really love the story, but there are definitely things I mentioned already, a few that were kind of challenging for me, that I might have changed. Is there anything in the story that you would have changed? Anything that you didn't really like that you thought we could have done this differently or changed this, overall?
Just the literal hard break at the end of season 2 of like like I'm on fire, I'm a dad, the end. I'm like,
yes.
I'm like, I felt like that could have been fleshed out a little more. Yeah. I don't know. But I don't know if that's me complaining about the execution or just the fact that I didn't like that it was over.
Mm,
Because I have to be very cautious of my opinions on things like that because I might just be wounded. Because
mm.
like same thing, I came out of Across the Spider Verse and somebody asked my opinion. I'm like, I'm not giving you an opinion right now. My feelings are hurt. And uh, I don't know that there's anything I would have done differently or had a real complaint with.
Right.
Um, because the reality is, this isn't a story I could have told.
Mm,
If you had in a million years said, "All right, tell me a good story," and this wouldn't have been it.
right. Right.
Which is why I really enjoyed how it takes place. And I don't know, like I think one of the my favorite things was the viral episode, like the zombie episode.
Yep. Yep.
And I thought that was incredibly like heart pounding. Like I was like, oh, I'm invested. This is scary.
Yeah.
uh, and so like I guess I could have done with a little more of that because I didn't necessarily feel like great danger
Mm,
very often because I'm like, it's a T-Rex and a caveman. They're gonna make it through this. I think the one of the only times that I felt like truly like, oh no, was that like viral episode. Now I knew they were
mm.
gonna get out of it because it wasn't over, but I was just like,
Right.
I was like, I could do with a little more of that. But
No, I got you. I got you. So, I'm remembering certain other episodes. I remember one of the ones that was being adrift at sea. It's kind of terrifying to me. And so that episode where they were just wandering was whatever. I would say if there's something I would change, I felt like taking Scorpion, which that was who the fire monster was at the end, right? Like that was what they were trying to insinuate. Having removing his humanity, which was the only really redeeming characteristic. That was a very tough, challenging episode that you were cheering for Spear and Fang and Mira to kill the entire Viking village, and then Dad shows back up and is crushed by the loss of his family, and you're like, ooh, that was kind of painful. That was a little hard. Removing his humanity, I thought, kind of stole from that end story. You know what I mean? That if it could have been still been Scorpion, human Scorpion, that had found some way that he was no longer attached to anybody else, and even if Fang was or a Spear was somewhat isolated as well from, if he had been isolated from Fang and from Mira, and he was on his own, and Scorpion had shown up, and it was the two of them lost. I would have enjoyed that as a more emotionally bow tied on it ending, than a giant lava monster. But like you said, other than that, I mean, I really enjoyed the series. I would have liked some more, and I know that it's the way it goes in a TV show that in the later seasons you can do a 3 episode arc, like when they were was it Colosseus? I think that was a 3 episode arc. Having those stories tied together for several episodes, I enjoyed that. So they could flesh something out in 60 minutes instead of 22 minutes. You don't get those a lot in the first season because they're more episodic. There's a new character, a new creature, new creature, new creature, new creature, new creature, new creature. But I enjoyed those. I would have liked to have seen more of those, and maybe they'll find that. Maybe they will go that way. I haven't seen anything that they're not doing a season 3 or they are doing a season 3.
yeah,
But I would watch a season of Baby Spear. I'd watch a season of Baby Spear.
I and here's I took for every episode, especially in season 2, to say, you know what, I'm just grateful we got a season 2.
There you go.
So
There you go.
I was like, because like in an era where everything gets canceled really quickly,
Yes.
or good or terrible things go on forever, I was like, oh, this got 2 seasons. I'm grateful.
There you go. So like I said, I haven't seen that there is going to be a 3rd season, but if you could take a spinoff or a sequel somewhere, where would you want to see more story development in this world of Primal?
I think the next I don't know that it's where I'd want it to go, but I think the next organic step would be, because we are progressing with civilization, I think we start heading towards dinosaur extinction.
Mm, yeah.
Like maybe climate change, maybe maybe whatever. But like we're getting to the point where if you've got Vikings and you've got like Egyptians and you've got all these other cultures that are rising up, building technology and all this stuff, that there's not going to be a lot of room for the wild to remain wild.
I got you. Um, no, that would be very interesting. Very interesting.
Even if you jump to like an adult Baby Spear,
Yeah.
being like one of the last people defending dinosaurs.
Okay. Yeah. I forgot who the guy was. It was some seminar I watched where it was talking about dinosaurs and man coexisting, young Earth creation, and he's like, "You want to know how the dinosaurs died? because somebody killed the last dinosaur. That's how the dinosaurs died. And so that would be another interesting thing, that it wasn't even climate change but it was just prejudice against dinosaurs. We're going to hunt them down. We're going to kill them all, and them trying to defend the babies of Fang or whatever else. That'd be interesting. I'd watch that. I'll just watch another episode of Baby Fang and Mira. Those are interesting characters enough. Or I thought too it'd be fun if they would have. I never thought of his name or even looked it up, but the big giant dude from Colosseus, if he were to, like, instead of going home, if he were to join them, it was this growing tribe of misfits that they had accumulated. Fan of that too. Spinoff, I would have loved to see actually more of a prequel. Who Fang or who Spear was, before that loss, or or maybe even like, I did kind of like the modern episode. If you had a archaeologist that was like studying things that he found, and then it kind of cuts back to scenes of Fang and Spear kind of interspliced. I think
just showing the different primal natures of
Yes.
mankind throughout history.
Yes, I think it'd be fun. Or even just like him studying these things, and it being a scene of Spear and Fang that we didn't see in season 1 to season 2. Like he finds this, excavates this area, goes, oh, look at these things. We have spears and very sharp weapons in the same place. Well, let's jump into the series. Let's put ourselves inside it. I've got several questions here that are for you, Hector. If you could have a prehistoric companion / mount, what would you choose?
It's probably not the most practical, but I would go with the Triceratops.
Okay.
I just like Triceratops.
Yeah.
The horns provide good safety. They're not the fastest or anything, but it's also low to the ground, so less chance of me like falling off and dying.
True, and they eat plants, and so the likelihood of them getting really hungry and deciding you look like a snack is very small, very small.
Yeah.
I did, with Fang, that was always, if he gets really hungry on this raft, he might eat you. He might eat you. No, it's not a bad choice at all. Not a bad choice at all. I don't know if it's my memories of He-Man, but I thought a giant saber-toothed tiger, like that would be little battle cat. That was my thought there. No, I like it. All right, so Spear ends up using many different weapons. What do you think you would have chosen to carry?
I think I would go with a club with spikes.
A club with spikes. Why club with spikes?
I don't know. Maybe it's like my comic book background or whatever else. Just like I've seen a baseball bat with nails be like one of the most effective zombie tools or things like that. So a club with spikes kind of just hits home for me.
I got you.
It's also easy enough to make that if I destroy one, I can make another one relatively easy.
I got you. Yes. So prehistoric weapons, club with spikes. I like that. If I could have 2 hand axes, that's another thing. Just to be able to just swing one and then the other, one and the other. Especially in some of those episodes where they were not taking on a singular target, but as they did in many of them, many targets. Yeah, I would have done that. I also like the pictures of a shield being used as a club and then stab.
Yeah.
Knock, stab. But yes, I also enjoyed having Mira use use archery, using long distance to be able to pick off. And why did her hair never grow back? That was another question that I was like, I don't understand. Like the time frame here, she had hair in the flashback episode, but it never grew at all after they had given the. I understand not growing where the scar is, maybe, but she never had hair.
That just may have been a cultural thing for her.
Maybe. Well, I mean, but she had hair before she was captured.
Right.
So I don't know. Maybe she kept it clean. Maybe it was so that we would know that was Mira, the bald girl.
Yeah.
That's
more,
it.
More than likely.
More than likely. All right. Would you have rather roamed around like Spear, which I feel like that's where they were kind of aiming towards the end of season 2, that Mira was stationary, she was home, and even Fang was kind of home, but Spear was going to continue to roam. It sounded like, are you the guy that would like to roam like Spear or found a place to kind of settle like Mira?
I am down for roaming as long as I've got at least a companion.
Yes, yeah. No, I think that's fair. On to the next adventure. Let's find something else new. I'd say it probably would be very similar, very similar. Let's see what else is out there.
I
I'm the
wouldn't want to.
guy.
I wouldn't want to roam by myself, but past that, yeah.
Yes, no, I agree with you there. I'm the guy that gets lost because we're going to try going a different way to the same place we've been 1,000 times. Let's see what's down this road. Let's just drive and see what's down this road. Which I had a test. I'm going to be teaching middle school math in the fall, and so I had to take this test to prove that I knew how to do fractions. And so I thought, oh, I'll take this new route that I've never taken before, and was almost late to this test, this standardized test. So it doesn't always work out well for me, but I do like to explore. Yes, I would have roamed as well, not wanting to stay in one place. Although, you clear out all the actual predators, and then they would move on and then find new predators. It's like maybe if they would have sat still, they would have been okay, but it's okay. Last, this or that question. What creature did they choose for the show that would have done you in, or is there another animal creature threat that would terrify you if it had been primalized?
I'm gonna straight up go back to that trippy zombie drug viral episode. Whatever that dinosaur was that was chasing them was like, nope, you did it. Good job. I'm scared.
Yeah, I don't, and honestly, I don't think I finished that episode because I think it did, like, it was freaking me out. I'm watching it or in dark with my headphones on. I'm like, I get it, I get it. Let's go to the next one, and then the next one was the druid magic one. I was like, this is not much better. This is also really kind of creepy. For
No.
me, it was early on in the series. It was the snakes in the water. Snake, I don't do snakes. I don't do
Oh.
snakes. No, don't like them. And having them, it was like a snake avalanche, and then they're in the water with, yeah, that would have been a little, that was could not have done that one. Was gonna die on that one. Um,
Go back and finish the trippy episode.
go back and finish it. All
Yeah.
right, I'll do it. I'll do it. That was something. That was something. All right. So thoroughly enjoyed this. Thoroughly enjoyed the show. Hector, I want to know kind of some things that are going on. You are the guy that's got 19 side hustles. What is your actual job? What is your actual job that you do?
My actual job is I am the location pastor of a church in Lumberton, North Carolina.
Okay.
So our church has 3 locations and I'm over the location in my town.
Okay. All right. But you have infinite side hustles. Infinite side hustles. You mentioned a dozen of them earlier that you said you've done between June and the first week of July. But you mentioned earlier, I'd asked you before we started recording a couple things that you would want to plug, things that are coming up. So what are some things that you go, these are things that I like to do, side hustles I do that people can connect with you to get more Hector Murray? What are some ways that they can do that?
So on the con world, I'm going to be at GalaxyCon Raleigh at the end of July and some other shows heading up. But I have a booth at cons, and it's always a good place to come connect with me there at the Faith and Fandom booth there. But
So what do
um,
you sell at your booth at cons?
so I write a book series called Faith and Fandom that's nerdy devotionals and Bible studies. And so at my booth, I'll have all a lot of my books. I don't carry all of my books anymore because it gets expensive to print that many books.
Mm,
Um, and because I think if you include some of the smaller stuff I've done, I've got 17 books now.
okay.
And so it's just like I can't afford to keep printing all these. But I've got my books. I make nerdy candles. Like
Okay.
I make candles that look like the Death Star or D20s or BB-8s or PlayStation controllers. I make some stickers and design those. I also have some kind of like meme shirts that I make that are like nerd stuff, Bible quote memes. So that's at my booth. And then usually at shows, especially like GalaxyCon, they'll give me a panel where I can discuss like just people to come in the room and discuss their thoughts on like where faith and pop culture meets
Mm,
and their experiences, because like a lot of people that have come in like when I was a kid, Pokemon was the devil and I wasn't allowed to have whatever. And you'll have people that are talking about their trauma, then you'll have people that are talking about their encouragement, and that's been
right.
really good.
Oh,
And but
good.
then like at GalaxyCon, I'll have a Sunday morning church service that's like, you know, 200 people that paid $50 to get in the door and then chose to go to a church service. So I'm like, God bless y'all.
Yeah.
All that, and then I'm also currently writing Faith and Fandom book 9. I just put out a new Faith and Fandom that's 101 mini devotionals. So
Okay.
like 1 page, 1.5 page devotionals, real short ones. But book 9 I'm working on right now, so that's kind of coming along.
So is 8 the mini devotionals, or did you do a mini devotionals in addition to Faith and Fandom 8?
In addition, the
Okay.
mini one is called Faith and Fandom Bite Size.
Okay.
It looks like a bowl of cereal.
Nice. I mentioned that I had gotten Faith and Fandom 5 because you'd put a on the list of nerd topics covered, Ready Player One, and it was funny because the reason you wrote it, or at the beginning of that devotional, you said that I forgot which nerd box it was that sent that out, but I got that same nerd box. And I'm going, why do
The
they put
loot
a
crate.
book in here? Why do they put this in here? And it went up on my shelf, and I was like, cool, I got a book that I'm not planning on reading. And eventually I pulled it down. I was like, let me read this, and yeah, sucked me in real quick. And I have either read or listened to it a half a dozen times. That book in itself, and I mean a lot of his. I think I've read all his stuff. It's not as good as Ready Player One, but
No,
it's not terrible. But I enjoyed the idea of taking this aspect of nerd culture and let's look and see if we can find the God story in it, which is not an impossibility in
no,
anything to be able to
no.
do. It really isn't because I we did this I guess it was Sunday after church and we do all kinds of I try to do different things with my kids. I've got 12-year-old or almost 12-year-old, should be 12 on Tuesday. We've got a 12-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 5-year-old. And I try to do different things around the dinner table between praying and whatever else. And so this last Sunday was let's thank God for things that He's made. Like what are some things that God has made? And one of the ones we talked about was story. That God made story. That God could have made this world, and it was all data and facts and not story. But I'm glad that God made story. So I enjoy getting your reading those devotions in 5. I've got 5 right now. What is maybe one of the chapters, the themes you're most excited about, or really enjoyed discussing in 9?
Ooh.
I know
Um.
choosing your favorite child. Tell me your favorite child.
Uh. So I. Hmm. Probably there's a deep dive on Anakin Skywalker from like beginning to end
Okay.
on like tipping points in his story, but
Yeah.
like in how we what we do with the people we consider irredeemable and
Mm.
like how much redemption has to take place for us to consider it redemption. Because
Mm.
like Vader's redemption arc's like 30 seconds. It's like so, you
Yeah.
know, like what do you do with that? So there's one on that, and then I also have one on Nate Shelley from Ted Lasso.
Okay.
And it's just a very much a prodigal son story. I'm currently the chapter I'm writing right now is on Across the Spider-Verse. Um, but I've been on the road so much, I've only watched it once. I need to
Okay.
watch it again before I like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
actually start writing stuff.
View 1 is for enjoyment, and then view 2 is for work. Yeah, that makes sense.
But that's the thing too, like, if a lot of times anytime my family is watching something, I'll end up like taking notes, or like if it's especially if it's home, I'm like, rewind that, hold
Yep.
on. And it's at the point now where my oldest daughter, who's 15, if she hears something, she won't even look at me. She'll just pause, rewind, and go back
Yeah.
to it because she knows what I'm doing.
That's good. That's real good. That's real good. Fantastic. No, so that's Faith and Phantom 9. You said you're working on that one now, right?
Hmm.
Cool. Cool. Any idea when it'll be done, ready to go?
I would love to say October.
Okay.
Um the my I have a secondary editor for like my smaller books and stuff that I do. They're the stuff that takes a lot less work. But like a Faith and Fandom proper takes a lot more work to on the editing level, and my editor runs a summer camp.
Mm. So they're a
And
little
so
busy. A little
a
busy.
little busy. And like I had a fine line, even for the bite size one of like, okay, I have to get you this whole book done by March
Mm.
if you're gonna do it in time, and I didn't have it done. So I got it done for my con season, but didn't have it done for him to work on it. So but I'll probably that, but also I try really hard never to force or shoehorn anything. Like if I'm not encouraged or inspired by it, I'm not gonna take my time to do it.
Yeah.
And there hasn't been a lot of great lately. There's been a lot of
Mm.
mediocre, or and also in a lot of ways, like I do a weekly radio show for Love Thy Nerd, like a 3-minute nerd devotional
Mm-hmm.
that goes on their radio thing. And like so sometimes a lot of the stuff that I have that would be like eventually fleshed out, I'll put out in that little 3-minute thing. All right, I'm done with you. Bye. Um
Right. Right.
so
Yeah.
it's a little harder with that. But yeah, that's what I would love to say October.
I got you. Well, when there's not a whole lot of great now, you just do you just do classic, man. You just go classic. You go we're doing Faith and Fandom classic. That's it, and it's nothing that's come out before 1990 was 30 years ago, dude. Like that
Oh,
doesn't feel right.
I'm aware. I'm aware.
Doesn't feel right. But yes, that's what I'm watching with my kids right now. Are all movies that were released before 1990. I love my kids. They sit there and my daughter said, she goes, these are better because they don't have to rely on computer graphics. They just tell a good story. I go, they do, don't they? They tell a good story. That's good stuff. Well, fantastic. So your social handles at Faith and Fandom, Instagram and Facebook. Anything else that you want to plug? Don't you got a podcast you do too?
I have a podcast that I do, and like because of the cycles my life goes in, it's not always content. But if you just look up Faith and Fandom wherever you get podcasts, or it's faithandfandom.podbean.com. I've got I do a comics podcast with Love Thy Nerd, and I'll eventually put all of those episodes on there for the pull list. I'll put all of the little radio shows will go on there. But I do a review of every con I go to. We call it Artist Alley Aftermath.
That's right. Yeah.
Do that. And then so one of the things that we've done, especially since the pandemic, was every chapter from every book is on our website for free.
Okay.
So if you go to faithandfandom.org and you click the blog section, you can literally put book 8, book 7, book 5, or whatever. Or you can click Star Wars and it'll put all the Star Wars chapters from all the books in one spot.
Okay.
Anime all in one spot. And so, but one of the things I'm doing so all the chapters for book 9 are up there now as rough drafts.
Right.
So you can go in and read those now, but I also have all the audio versions of that.
Okay.
So like just this week, I put out a Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom chapter. And you can listen to that on the website, and you can also read that. So
nice.
And that's one of my favorite things too. Like with the website now is like when I'm at a con, if I'm talking to somebody about something, I was like, look, if you don't want to buy a book, you can read all this here, give them a card. And usually I get a lot of good responses from people that will I've seen people stand there at the booth and like pull up their phone and start browsing through a chapter. I'm like, the book's in front of you. You could have just done that too, but whatever.
Whatever you want to do. Whatever you want to do. Yeah, you do you. Very cool. Very cool. Well, Hector, man, I appreciate you coming on and talking Primal with me.
Absolutely.
And we'll have to have you on again sometime soon.
Sounds great, man.
All right. Well, thank you for spending time with us today, and I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Hector as much as I did. Again, if you want to check out his stuff, he is at Faith and Fandom, both on Instagram and Facebook. You can find his books on Kindle, on Amazon. You can search Hector Miray, Miray, or Faith and Fandom, and they'll come up there, and they're well written. I would encourage you to check them out and read them, and enjoy that. If you are enjoying the content, don't forget to subscribe. Next week's episode is Steve Valdez and Six of Crows. So you don't want to miss that one. It's a great fantasy steampunk heist book. So check it out. We'll be posting that in a couple weeks. And if you're watching on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. Leave us a comment so we know you're there. If you're watching if you're listening on Apple iTunes, I would encourage you to leave us a review and a 5-star rating. That really helps others to find the show. If you have the podcast app on an iPhone, it's easy to leave a review, and I would even probably give you some money if you would leave us a good review. I would at least buy you lunch. I'd at least buy you lunch. So do that for us so we can be seen by others. If you want to share this show, the easiest way to do that is go to nextgennerd.com. All our episodes are there. You can click the share button and share it on your social media. You can share it via email. You can find backlog episodes. Encourage you to do that to check out the stuff that we've done in the past. Links to so much more are in the show notes. They're available either in your podcast app or in the bottom of the YouTube video or at nextgennerd.com. And if you want even more NextGen Nerd, you can find me on Instagram at nextgen_nerd or on Twitter at nextgen_nerd. Well, that's it for this episode. Until next time.
Peace out, Seacrest.